Impeachment Article 9, Receiving Foreign and Domestic Emoluments, prepared by Free Speech for People. Receiving foreign and domestic emoluments in his conduct of the office of President of the United States, Donald John Trump, in violation of his constitutional oath. Faithfully to execute the office of President of the United States and, to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, has repeatedly misused his office for personal gain by accepting presents or emoluments from foreign kings, princes, and states without the consent of Congress, and by receiving or appropriating for himself emoluments from the United States and the several states in excess of the compensation provided by law, in that. While in office, he made it his policy to retain beneficial ownership of, and has received substantial income from, the Trump Organization, the Trump Media and Technology Group, and his other diverse business interests. Since again taking the oath of office on January 20, 2025, Donald John Trump has through these businesses solicited, accepted, or received payments, contracts, permits, approvals, subsidies, and other financial benefits from foreign governments, from the United States, and from the several states. This conduct has included one or more of the following. 1. He has received a luxury jet worth approximately $400 million from the Qatari royal family for his personal use as Air Force One during his second term, and plans to transfer the plan to his presidential library for his personal use when he leaves office. The 13-year-old jet, which was owned and used by the Qatari royal family before being gifted to Trump, poses significant security concerns. The U.S. government will either bear the cost of retrofitting the aircraft to meet U.S. security standards, or Trump will have to waive due diligence requirements to the detriment of U.S. national security. 2. He received and is scheduled to receive substantial sums of money from expenditures by foreign governments at or on his privately owned properties in New York, Miami, Florida, and Palm Beach, Florida, including monthly fees collected from 5 foreign governments, Saudi Arabia, India, Afghanistan, Qatar, and Kuwait, that own units in Trump World Tower, and fees paid to Trump by LIV Golf, created and financed by the Saudi Arabian government, for use of Trump property in Miami, Florida. 3. He received substantial valuable benefits for his businesses in foreign countries, including trademarks, government permits and approvals, and financial support for building projects, from foreign governments. 4. He received and is scheduled to receive substantial sums of money from expenditures by foreign governments, the United States, or the several states, via their purchase of shares in Trump Media and Technology Group, TMTG, or via their purchase of advertisements on the TMTG-owned Truth social media platform. As of February 25, 2025, at least one bank controlled by a foreign government owns shares in Eric Lipton. Trump Organization issues ethics pledge for President-elect's second term, New York Times, January 10, 2025. The intensifying threat of Donald Trump's emoluments, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, August 28, 2024. TMTG, as do several public pension plans operated by state governments. 5. He unlawfully receives compensation in the form of federal and state expenditures at or on his privately owned properties, including expenditures related to the protection of Trump and his family by the Secret Service and other government agencies. 6. He has enabled Elon Musk to unlawfully solicit, accept, or receive payments, contracts, permits, approvals, subsidies, and other financial benefits from foreign governments, from the United States, and from the several states via his position as special employee responsible for DOJ, where he exercises authority over the employment, actions, and data of agencies with which his companies contract. In all of this, Donald John Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as president and subversive of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice and to the manifest injury of the people of Trump Media and Technology Group Corporation Common Stock, DJT, Institutional Holdings, NASDAQ, as of February 25, 2025. Eric Lipton, Trump Organization issues ethics pledge for president-elects. Second term, New York Times, January 10, 2025, the United States. Wherefore Donald John Trump, by such conduct, warrants impeachment and trial, and removal from office.
So violations of the Emoluments Clause also occurred under Trump's first term. And I really like this thing that people say about the Emoluments Clause. You got what's the damages, right? Well, that's why I started looking into this question, kind of studying it. And it deals with, can you sue a government for corruption? There have been legal theorists all over the world that have studied this question. They've come up with different positions. The obvious easy one for corruption that everyone seems to deal with is the corruption by handshakes, right? Like the government, you're in business and you sell widgets to the government. You're wanting to sell your widgets to the government, but your competitor widget maker who makes a crappy widget, but that widget maker goes in there and he brings prostitutes and cocaine and cash and good food and all this stuff and treats that decision maker at the government like you can't believe. And so that person in that government really likes this guy because he got laid and coked out of his head and lots of cash. And so he's like, okay, I'll buy 1 trillion of your damn widgets. Of course. Because that's the person. But your product is better. In those environments, they would say you would sue the government for its corruption because your product is better, and you would try to prove corruption cost your company cash. All right? But the question is the other aspects. So I'm going to link to some of the videos that I have that were asking those fascinating questions. Probably the one that I think that works the best today is reputation. The United States is being seen as a corrupt nation. The best example of how corruption actually occurs and damages an organization is happening today. It's called Tesla and Elon Musk. So let's just go through the history of why Elon Musk's and Tesla sales are dog crap and why people burn Teslas and destroy charging stations. The answer to that question is corruption. It's very simple. And the damages of corruption, at least what people perceive as corruption. So Elon buys Twitter, and he brings back a lot of people who people believe are wrong or immoral or whatever, like people who praise Nazis. He brings back people who, are hit with multi-billion-dollar fines because they were saying things like, parents of murdered children, that their children were never murdered, or that maybe even those parents murdered their children in order to make gun owners look bad. And I'm never going to say that son of a bitch's name because people who treat parents of murdered children like that, to me, are subhuman scum, and I don't even want to acknowledge they exist. But they were allowed to be on Twitter. And some other things. People who lies and conspiracy theories and always going after people who are, quote, woke. But the problem is that a lot of people who were woke were people who were the primary market for electric cars. People who are woke are environmentalists, people who believe that there should be ethics and morals governing society, and they try to create this thing called being woke because politically correct was damaged, and some people, so wokeness was about trying to establish ethics and morality within a society and punishing people who were immoral and unethical, and trying to do that. The problem was that sometimes it went too far, but what started happening is people who were purchasers of electric cars who are environmentalists, and environmentalists is where you're going to find a lot of woke people at the time. Now what happens is he starts buying Trump, hundreds of millions of dollars. That makes people really nervous because all of his primary market, environmentalists, realize that what Trump is he's completely against electric cars and completely against clean energy, and people who like clean energy like electric cars. His reputation starts going down. His reputation goes further down when Trump wins because of his actions in certain things that Elon does, like his lottery, that makes people think that Elon is becoming very corrupt. So Tesla sales start dropping as a result of this. On top of that, he starts being involved in Doge. And Doge starts accessing people's data on federal computers. The problem, and he starts implementing horrible policies like stopping aid to like food aid to starving people in Africa and Central Asia, and people who live in jungles, and stopping them getting the medications that they need to save their lives. And people start to die. And all of this stuff starts happening. Talk about taking away medical attention from people within the United States, depriving people of constitutional rights, things of that nature. And these become him. As his reputation dives, and it starts getting really, really bad all over the world, people start literally being, not just not buying his cars, people start burning his cars, giving his cars. Nobody buys his cars because Elon is seen as corrupt. And his corruption is injuring people all over the world. At least that's what the whole world sees. And as a result, these terrible things start happening to Tesla, and because of Elon's reputation. The same can happen with a nation. In a nation, corruption like this causes things like boycotts in Canada and people all over the world not coming here. Tourism drops, and tourism has been dropping by 20% or more, and boycotting of American-made stuff. Reputational injuries, like that of the emoluments clause, injures the ability for the United States to fairly conduct business around the world when we are seen as corrupt. Reputational damages caused by things like violating the emoluments clause generates reputational harm to the United States, which ultimately translates into economic harm and jobs harm of people who just have little jobs, all the way up to companies like McDonald's and Walmart and Costco. So that's where the emoluments clause and these emoluments violations turn into actual economic harm. And that if people who are examining these videos, like I hope you are if you are an attorney for things like Bivens actions, that's an area to look into. Is the reputational injury to the United States, which became economic damage, which is actually quantifiable by the effectiveness of global boycotts of American products, for example, in Canada. Thank you.